Hey everyone, Andy Raffel from eTeknix.com. Now, we all know there's, well, pretty much a huge amount of AIOs on the market, from Corsair to NZXT. There's even, high-end air coolers from the likes of Noctua. Well now, someone else has just entered the game. This is the Lian Li Galahad AIO 240 RGB. Let's do this. Wow! With the new XPG Primer, victory really is in my hands. With its 12,000 DPI Omron mechanical switches and tactical scroll wheel, the XPG Primer is ready to up my game. Check the link in the description for more details. So, this is Lian Li's first attempt at an AIO, and I've got to sort of admit, it's been a long time coming. We initially heard about this, well, a few trade shows again, obviously pre-pandemic and everything like that, but there was talk of an AIO coming from Lian Li. And I thought this is going to be interesting because for the most part, with all of the kind of leaps and strides that Lian Li have really been making lately, I was expecting it to come out, be fantastic quality, as you'd expect from Lian Li, and also pretty damn affordable. And I think that's pretty much what we've got here. So to start with, let's talk about colors. So the one that I've got here is actually the black one. It does come in a choice of black or white and comes in two sizes, 240mm like I've got here, and also 360mm for those who just want that little bit more. In terms of the pricing for the 240, it's going to be coming in with an MSRP of $119.99 US, and for the 360, $149.99 US plus taxes and shipping. So when we're looking at comparing them to, I guess, the market leaders out there, you're talking H100i from Corsair, which is about the same price, but is lacking a few of the RGB features. And when you're looking at the 360 at $149.99, I guess that's pretty comparative against Cooler Master's ML360R, as well as probably the Deepcool Castle 360X or EX. Again, lacking a few features. This has RGB on the block as well as the fans. So this has actually got a little bit more, but is coming up at about the same sort of price. So let's take it out and see exactly what we're actually dealing with. Firstly, I want to get the name out of the way, Galahad. I'm not a massive fan of that. I mean, Galahad, technically, I think he was one of King Arthur's men or something like that. So it's a little bit confusing. Are they going with like some weird ye oldie type sort of styling and things like that? It's just a bit of an interesting one. Also, for anyone who's in the UK will know that Galahad is basically a cheap version of Foster's beer, which I have been known to drink on occasion in the past. And yeah, it's just a little bit cheap, a little bit So yeah, I'm not overly keen on the name. So we have two 120mm fans. They are RGB. We get all of our fixtures, fittings, cables. I mean, there's a massive load of stuff there. And then we get the unit itself. So let's talk about the styling. Well, from the offset, I've got to admit, this looks absolutely amazing with its kind of brushed aluminium housing around the radiator, as well as kind of matching, but more in a kind of plasticky material on the actual CPU block. The thing that is a bit weird, and you can probably see it straight away, is, well, this kind of looks a bit backwards. I'd expect the pump to actually be this side of the hoses. I'm sure there's kind of method behind the madness once that's in and on your CPU. I don't know, it just kind of seems a little bit weird and unlike anything I've seen before. I'm hoping that's not actually a manufacturing fault, but yeah, I mean, even if that was in the front of your case, you'd have that. I think they've made a mistake here, but I might be wrong. Either way, we will find out as the video goes on. Now let's talk about a little bit more about the styling, especially when it comes to the CPU block, because that's the thing that for the most part, you're gonna see pretty much predominantly front and center through the window of your case. So with that CPU block, I mean, it's not the smallest design out there, I've got to admit. The pump is included in here and it does have a triple chamber design, which I'll talk about in a little bit more detail a little bit later on. But in terms of the styling, you can see that it has a pretty simple Lian Li logo on there. If you actually take off the protective material, what they include, because not everyone wants it to sort of, say Lian Li, they might just be a little bit more on the side of, I want it to look a little bit plain and just, simple. So what they include is a little magnetic cap, which you can put into the middle, like so, and the RGB will actually still kind of appear around the edge of it. So it's quite interesting. The magnet is towards the middle of the actual pump block itself, so even if you try and move it, it will spring back. So you can get it, I guess, pretty much in the middle of it, so you get that even spread of RGB-ness around the actual sort of plate. But if you do want the Lian Li logo on show, you can just take that away and you can have that on show. And of course, you're going to see a lot more RGB then. So I did mention that it has got kind of a triple chamber design. So what we basically have is the cold plate chamber, the connecting chamber, and then the pump chamber. So the way that this works is basically we have our cold plate chamber and our connecting chamber are more about kind of transferring the actual heat away from the CPU itself. Whereas the pump chamber, which is pretty much this whole top bit, is to house the low noise pump, or according to Lian Li, it's low noise. That's something that we will obviously look at as we get to testing and things like that. Now, the only cables that are actually coming from the pump block, I guess, are a 3-pin fan header, as well as a proprietary connector that I have seen before on other Lian Li products, like their BR Digital fans. It looks very, very similar. Other than that, we do have the copper plate down here, and we do have the interchangeable brackets. Depending on if you're on AMD or Intel, you can simply unscrew this, take this off, and replace it. And obviously, they do all come included. So yeah, whether you're Intel, whether you're AMD, everything is included in here, apart from Threadripper. So the only other thing coming off of the pump are the 2 braided hoses. These are 400mm in length, and they're actually quite stiff. I mean, I kind of like that, but it might cause some problems trying to manipulate it and really trying to get it into the direction that you want in your case. Obviously, you can rotate these this way, but this still just looks a little bit odd to me. I just kind of feel that this is the wrong way round, but I might be pleasantly surprised once it's inside a case. Obviously, it does come into these nice little unions, but the hoses aren't detachable. So yeah, if you are looking for maybe something you can add potentially a GPU block or something to at a later date, this isn't the one for you, but there are plenty of products out there that are like that. Now, when it comes to the radiator, Lian Li claim that it's a high fin density radiator. I mean, it looks like a pretty standard affair. I mean, the gap between the fins isn't exactly huge, so maybe there is more in there than kind of your conventional AIO. You guys will be able to see that for yourself in the B-roll footage. The thing that I do like about the radiator is the housing. So essentially, it's only on the 2 sides. So we've got it down here and down there. But to be fair, that's all you really need, because once it's in your case, whether it be at the bottom, whether it be at the side, or whether it be at the top, that's the actual bit that you're really going to see. And I really, really like it. It just adds that premium kind of modern look to it, which is a little bit weird considering the name Galahad kind of sounds quite old-fashioned, if you know what I mean. So what about the fans? So obviously Lian Li already manufacture their own fans. They have the BR Digital, they've had the Bora fans. They do really have a huge selection. These ones obviously don't look, I guess, as premium as what the BR Digital fans do, but they are very, very heavy. So they're pretty, I guess, square in the grand scheme of things, as square as a fan can be. Normally with fans, you have kind of a more predominant area in the corners and a kind of shallowed out gap on the middle part of it, but these are actually really, really solid. They do, I guess, look a little bit cheap with the plastic and that, but they actually feel very heavy and very, very durable. They are RGB. You can control it using your motherboard software, so whether you've got a Zeus, Gigabyte, MSI, ASRock, you're not going to have any problem controlling these. Now, when it comes to controlling them, you can see that there are 2 cables coming off of them. So we have a 4-pin PWM header, as well as, again, that proprietary connector, exactly the same as with the CPU block itself. That's where the accessories come in. And inside there, we have our splitter Y cable for your fans. We have our SATA power connector, which goes into a proprietary connector. And then inside is where we will actually find, apart from all the screws, the mounting kit, everything that you need to actually put this onto your CPU and your motherboard and to mount it inside your case, we get our little controller, which does mean that you can control it manually. So if you don't have a motherboard that has an ARGB connector on there, don't fret, you can still actually get all the colors, it just won't be synchronized with the rest of your system. So it's nice that you kind of have the choice of doing it manually through using the little switch buttons, or you can obviously connect it up to your motherboard. Now, one thing I would have liked to have seen with the fans is the new Uni fans. So Lian Li, for anyone who's missed it and hasn't seen kind of what they're going to be coming out next month, they're actually going to be bringing out some fans called the Uni fan. I think it was the SL120. So essentially what this is a fan like this, a fan like this. Admittedly, the styling is, well, just a little bit different, but what it will allow you to do, instead of having these cables, is to get them like that and connect them down like that. And they'll actually link up, sort of daisy chain, and then there'll just be a single connector on this side, 1 cable coming out. I don't understand, because at the time of filming this and everything, we are getting towards the beginning of August, and I am being told that the Uni fan is coming out in August. Personally, I would have maybe delayed this a little bit and actually included the Unifan with it. Maybe it would have been a little bit more expensive, but in typical Lian Li kind of fashion, I can't see it really being that much more expensive than, well, these fans here. So cable-wise, I don't think you're really going to have too much problem. I always moan about AIOs and their cables, especially the ones that come from the CPU blocks, because, I mean, they're a good length, they're braided, so at least they look nice, but personally, I would have loved for them to have run it down with the tubing and maybe had it come out just sort of down here. Again, I don't think it would have added too much in terms of the cost and things like that. So design aside and features aside, really it's all going to come down to the performance. And while we do test hundreds upon hundreds of AIOs and air coolers out there, the real one that we sort of want to, I guess, compare this against is actually the Noctua D15S. It's kind of one of them coolers that is a bit of a benchmark. If you know how a Noctua performs, you can then compare that against a Corsair AIO, an NZXT AIO, an EVGA AIO, and so forth. So instead of us having mass amounts of charts with all these results in and giving ourselves pretty much a huge amount of work, we're actually going to be comparing this against that exact Noctua D15S air cooler. So yeah, let's get it running and see exactly how it performs. So there you go, there's the results for you. And yeah, I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised. You know, I mean, in terms of an AIO, it's going to perform a certain way. It's pretty much what you're expecting to get from an AIO, especially at this price point as well. Obviously, there are ones out there on the market, the likes of NZXT with the Kraken series, with the X63, 73, and then the Z series as well, which does give you, I guess, a few more features with the screen and stuff like that. But for the people who don't want that and they just want a nice looking AIO and something that's going to perform well, I think Lian Li are really sort of on the money here. There's a few things that I did mention that I would change in terms of maybe the cabling, just, you know, having it come up with the braided hosing and then out from there. But they seem like they've got you pretty well covered. There are obviously bigger ones on the market that can cover Threadripper as well, but you do have to remember that Threadripper is still quite a niche product, and knowing that this kind of caters for the majority of users out there with Intel and AMD based processors on AM4 and 1150X, I think they've pretty much got you covered. And the pricing, I'm actually really pleased about. You know, you get RGB fans and an RGB block for kind of the price of what I guess the market leaders are doing, just an AIO with an RGB block, not with RGB fans. You're going to pay a little bit more for that. And I think that's just typical of Lian Li at the moment. They're looking at the market, they're seeing what kind of the market leaders and what their competitors are doing, and just sniping them to the punch just that little bit. Might even be only $5 or $10 or having extra features like RGB fans, but they are doing it, and I think they're making great strides. So yeah, let me know what you think about this. It's nice having the shroud and stuff on here. That's probably the highlight for me. And to be honest, it looks pretty damn nice as well. And the fact that you can control it through your software or manually if your motherboard doesn't allow it, I think, yeah, Lian Li are really onto a winner. Let me know what you think in the comments section below, guys. And I will see you in the next video. See you later, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye.